All right, it's Friday, March 15th. I'm going to do a weekly SPY recap and outlook here. We still have a couple hours to go in trading on the end of the day. I'm not going to be around, so I just thought I'd do this recap now, show you what's unfolded here for the week, what's unfolding so far during the day, what to look for, as the day comes to an end here. But you can see here on the daily or on the daily chart, we have these 5 days: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. If we look at the weekly chart, it was really nothing more than just a big inside consolidation week. We kind of talked about that at the end of last week after seeing this doji bar that's just pretty neutral. It was hard to project whether you're going to get a 2 down week or a 2 up week. As it turns out, this week just kind of stayed inside, a little choppy, which I'll get into in a second. And the only thing that's really unfolding, if it kind of holds in this area, it looks like it might be, even though it's an inside bar, it will have a little bit of a shooter bar look to it, which could project lower to maybe finally start that 2 down. Well, it would definitely be a inside bar down if it goes lower, and then to see if we can hit this target here and then close red on the week finally to get some kind of a pullback after this big move up. So again, it was a tricky week coming in, and you had to kind of know that, and we'll see how, I'll show you how each day kind of, it wasn't the easiest of trading directionally, but, in terms of just the way structure unfolded, it was pretty clear what to do each day, even though you didn't get much follow through either way. And then there was a couple of, unique days where you had the inside bar here, which I discussed on a recap video. We'll show you what happened there yesterday and then today. But, the bottom line is I'm going to still say this is a key and that's another thing. This purple green line is the open of the month, and that's kind of a key inflection point to turn that monthly chart either red or keep it going green month after month, and we're right at that right now again. So you can see that's why it's having this big inflection point right here. So to me, if we kind of close a little bit negative today and turn this red with half the month to go, we could be getting a potential shooter bar on the month, which could follow through into next month lower and get a little bit of a monthly pullback. And that's what's unfolding here. You're not really getting that momentum on the monthly chart. You're kind of holding that little open here, but you can see it not following through. If anything, it's kind of developing to the downside. So especially next week, if we do start a little lower, that'll keep that monthly chart red. And for the moment, short term and even intermediate term, you'll have to be biased to the downside. And it looks like, you want to be biased to the downside right now anyway, given the fact that you'll have an inside bar here, but it looks like it wants to at least attempt lower. And then you kind of see, again, as always with an inside bar, if it fails or continues. So anyway, let's just go over the 5 days of the week real quickly, and then just show you what the way kind of price action unfolded here on Monday. I remember there was that big shooter bar on Friday. You expected lower, and price on Monday here, it did go lower for a secondary move right to that inflection point again. And I shot videos on this, and you had an opportunity. I scaled out down there, bought some puts right early, scaled out, and then I had to kind of break even. It went up all day. We discussed at that point. On the next day, we're above the halfway point of the prior day. It gapped up a little bit. You had a good red to green kind of move here at the open, red to green, and then you had the one push up, pause, second push up. So that was kind of an easy green day to the upside. You were expecting broadening action up above that high in compound fashion on Wednesday, and Wednesday decided to open lower again and gave you again another red to green kind of move here above the halfway point of the prior day that just kind of grinded around and didn't go anywhere. And I kind of shot a video on that, kind of a recap day. I discussed how at that point we had an inside bar, and now we're going to look for either a breakout to the upside to hit that target, a breakout to the downside that worked towards this target, or maybe a failure in here. As it turned out, price right out of the gates had a 15-minute bar right here to open, and then bar number 2 was the sell, because it, price action early on was saying it wanted to try lower, and it went down. It took out the low of the prior day, and then it kind of paused and made its secondary push down. So kind of one push, 2 pushes down, and it really didn't fail on this inside bar to come down, then come back through the midway point of that bar. So it was a downward bias all day. Then you had a rally and another. This was hard to judge what was going to happen at the end of the day after you got your 2 pushes down and then a green reversal bar here. But it was a good trade to the downside downside from the open, one way or the other, either for the first move or the secondary move to take out the low of the day. Then you kind of had this green little, you had a little bit of a move up here. You had a little bit of a buying tail, but then today we gapped down again. So, and right to our inflection point of this green line. So to me, what today was all about was you had this little shooter bar to start. I think you could have bought puts here and tested if it had lower. Back early in the week on that, where was that first day here? Well, that was kind of in here. It reached that area, and that was a key area where it didn't want to break down at the moment. So that's what happened here today. But either way, whether you scaled out quickly and had to get out, or maybe once you saw this reversal bar, you had to take a small loss on this trade. But you're still biased to the downside because you're way below the midpoint of the prior day. And the only thing to consider is after taking out liquidity, the high of the first bar and then the shooter bar and then maybe this red bar, you could have bought more puts here for a move to the lows of the day. And that's what happened here. So that was the only two trades to consider, however you wanted to play it. And now, at the moment, with a couple hours to go, we're ending up with a red bar to the downside and break. It looks like our monthly chart is finally, as I'm filming it, has turned red here. So I'm seeing, this weekly chart. If we close kind of down here, having a shooter look, that should follow through lower into next week, and we kind of see if we can get that, hit this target and hold below there. There's a lot of targets down here. There's a gap down here. We might finally be getting the weekly pullback. It'll be an inside bar, so don't forget, on a weekly chart, when you have an inside bar, you could start down and then come back through the midpoint of that bar, and that would be a good sign to get long again. Or you could break down, hit the target, and keep going to other bigger picture targets. So just like the inside bar here on Wednesday, that we were going to see whether it failed or continued, on a breakout one way or the other. It's the same logic on the weekly chart that seems to be unfolding. And maybe, who knows, by the end of this day, maybe it's a big red bar to the downside. I don't know. At the moment, we're certainly breaking down, but we're taking out the low of the day, and this is a key inflection point. So we'll see, what happens here by the afternoon. Keep that in mind. Do we hold in here and have a big rally by the end of the day, or do we follow through much lower and really close strongly red on the daily chart, which would likely mean follow through into next week downside? So, I see the downside unfolding for a deeper pullback, but, I've been saying that for a couple of weeks now as this momentum is going up. But, if we can close here on this red bar and this weekly bar has a shooter look, then definitely expect to start lower into the end of next week and then kind of see how things unfold relative to, the inside bar either failing, either hitting a target and continuing, or hitting a target and failing and then moving back up again. So we'll find that out. So that's kind of a recap of the week and what to think about. But, keep in mind that monthly chart is turning red now. And if we hold down here, that's the, and we hold this weekly chart red and this daily chart red, then all of a sudden the continuity's to the downside, and you got to start, thinking that way until things change.